and do this one too. All right. So thanks again, Melissa, for joining us. Of course, I think everybody on this thread knows me. But Melissa, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a minute there to introduce yourself to the group here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I'm very happy to be on your show. My name is Melissa DaSilva, and I'm an independent licensed clinical social worker. And I'm in Providence, Rhode Island, where I have a small group practice, and we try to work together with the LGBTQ and their individuals.
Gotcha.
Well, I'm not getting that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, the call is breaking up a little bit. Hopefully the quality will get a little better. When I saw your profile there on the podcast group, had a couple of different things that jumped out at me. From your definitely being a therapist. There's a friend of mine that is he does similar work as you. He is kind of in the process of creating a nonprofit to help out older folks. And I even made a joke at work this week that I'm not quite 40 yet, but I'm not getting any younger either. And he is trying to create a little nonprofit to help out older folks. And he's calling his group Not Done Yet. But his background, I think, is very similar to yours, and going from there. But I guess the interview questions here. What was the best thing that you like being, as a therapist there?
Well, I think that I might be a little bit different than other therapists because I enjoy the business part of running a therapy practice because I can create things that can help the community. And I didn't realize that was going to be something that I enjoyed when I got into all this. So I like to be able to have a bigger impact on the community by being able to create things that might not be going on in the community right now. So we did a little seminar about putting makeup on for transgender females so that they can learn how to use makeup because a lot of times they don't grow up knowing how to use makeup. And this was a place for them to, come together and learn this skill. So I called it Put Your Face On, and it worked out pretty well. And so being able to be creative and create things is something that I'm really passionate about in my business.
Yeah. And now your area code, I think it came through, you're in Rhode Island, is it?
Yes. And my accent.
Yeah. No, hopefully mine is not coming through that southern either. But no, we're located mostly in northwest Metro Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so again, I don't know how heavy the accent is coming through there. But there was also out kind of another extreme. I'll kind of go through a bit of a story there. Out in Provincetown, Massachusetts, which is much closer to you than me right now, there is an event going on out there, Bear Week. And I wrote an article. I'll send it over to you if you want. But if I said Billy Porter or the show Pose or any of that right now, does that ring a bell?
No, but I do know what Bear Week is.
Okay. It seems to be somewhat popular up in that area. I've been once. It's quite expensive. That's why I haven't, gone back. Or, I do want to go back, at some point, but it's quite expensive up there. And,
yes.
But Billy Porter, he has been using Kinky Boots. He's an actor, and he apparently is there with his husband this week. And there's been a lot of, starstruck bears. That he is there with his husband this week, and I wrote a bit of an article about that because we've got kind of another sister media group trying to get a start down here in Atlanta. So, but yeah, another story though that as you were talking about that, a friend of mine was talking about a person that transitioned at his company, and I'll say that the company is a very large national, let's say, home improvement warehouse store. So I think you can pretty much say within a couple of answers who that might be.
Yeah.
Headquartered in Atlanta. But this individual, I believe, left as a man and returned as a woman. And some comments were made, and very similar to that event that you were talking about. And the terms come up at times, quote, passable. And things like this. And the show Pose, which is presently in its second season on FX, the cable network, it comes on Tuesday evenings. It actually goes into much, much more detail about these types of topics.
Yes.
The ball scene is what it actually focuses on, which in the late 80s in New York City. And, of course, we've, thankfully moved well beyond some of the topics they're talking about because it's set in that time period. But a lot of that is still very, relevant, especially I even had a coworker, was it this week or last week, that transitioned. And I did not actually realize that now he was even in that process. So it's all around us. And you never know what the people and coworkers and friends and all, what they're going through.
I actually had a client recently tell me what happened at work was they had recently got this new job at a company, and they do some marketing, and they were speaking to the new HR person, and they said, I know how to market to both genders, male and female, because I've been both. And it took a second for the person to respond to what they were talking about. And the first thing I couldn't even tell. And so my client just responded, well, I guess I'm doing my job then. But, that should not be the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth when they disclose this type of thing. But I think it's like a natural response is that, are you passable or not? And, it can be really hard for the trans community to live up to what people think are passable.
And some of these terms that we are discussing, just with the three of us on the call here, I'm hoping, again, Helen, you're welcome. It's just the three of us that I'm seeing so far. You're welcome to jump in any time. Hopefully, these are, comfortable terms to you. But there are coworkers of mine that if we were having this conversation in a room or even at a bar or something like that, you would see people, their eyes would glaze over and they would be jetting for the nearest exit. I mean, they, completely uncomfortable conversations for some people.
Wow. Yeah. And, it's hard to remember that sometimes, but not everybody, is accepting and understands everything.
Well, first of all, I'm listening to this because I kind of don't know what this particular support or this group that you sent me is for, because there was that thing on there that says that, are you for this? Well, I'm always for LGBTQ, whatever all those are. I'm just used to gay and straight. But at any rate, my husband died in 1990 of AIDS. He was gay, and we just had a great loving. I still love him, and we've always had a great relationship. So no, I don't know all the new terms that somebody says, what pronoun are you? I go, and I don't know what they mean. So anyway, it's neat to learn all this new stuff, and yes, I'm very supportive. I'm rambling, and I realize that, so I'm going to just shut up for a minute and get my brain working then. So there.
I think it's, first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry for your loss. That's really hard. But I think it's really brave for you to say, sometimes I don't understand some of these terms, because I think a lot of us try to fake it. And sometimes faking it can be harmful more than just saying, I don't understand. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I've kind of just been kind of reclusive in my house since I've retired. I've been retired since 2010, and I'm, like I said, I'm very supportive, period, of humanity. And Jim and Pete Flagg and all of that helped me really understand a lot of stuff, but I haven't done much of anything since then, other than deal with my sister who thinks that I'm a lesbian because I camp with women in a women's camping group. So that shows the level of understanding. And so I just kind of, she doesn't understand anything about her sister's life. She just thinks I'm just really weird. But at any rate, I just think I'm one of the more advanced people on the earth. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, but thank you for it. I do miss him still. We were great friends. So.
Yeah, and,
anyway.
and Helen, I did not know that story. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for sharing. That's quite a story there. Yeah.
It was an experience. Bless his heart. Okay. And I had it on mute because I have 3 dogs laying here who are subject to jumping up and barking at any second. So that's why I had it on mute.
That's always a struggle working at home when I had my dog as well. I would always leave him upstairs because they hear anything and they just start barking.
Yeah, off they go. I always say it's a flea passing gas, I'll say, outside on the porch that makes them jump up. I don't know. They hear something we don't hear.
And we've delved into this a little bit, but Melissa, one of your possible questions here: what do you feel that others need to know about the? Some people are calling this the alphabet community because you've got all these letters. Someone asked me recently. I just started calling it the queer community.
Yeah.
It's easier. It kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit easier. And I'll let you give your opinion of that term. But, what do you feel that others need to know as you've worked with the community there?
Well, one of the things is that, some people will accept the term queer, and some people still like to use the letters. Sometimes people don't feel like the T should even be in there because it's about gender, not sexuality. So it's a mixed bag of how people perceive it and how they call it. So I'll use it interchangeably depending where I am and who I'm speaking with. But I try to respect everybody's, identity and how they express themselves. Because somebody who might be non-binary, might not identify as being queer. So, I just kind of don't try to put a label on it, and just follow the lead of the person.
Yeah, and actually, I'm curious on that. What is your definition of non-binary?
So non-binary, it's some people will refer to it different ways, but typically that when people come to me and they say they're non-binary, they don't identify as either male or female. They may feel that they are more, they don't have a gender that they identify with, that they feel that they're more a blend of two, or just their own, there's this third gender. And I know that some people think it's a phase, people are just making this up just to be difficult. But the people that I see who identify as non-binary, you can tell it's they don't lean one way or the other. It's just they're pretty much in the middle.
Yeah.
I always call myself post-sexual because I'm 74, but I don't know what I would have ever called myself during my lifetime. I really, other something. I don't know what it would be. Anyway, like you're saying, there's this place where you don't really fit in anywhere. So I don't know I don't want to go into all that right now. It's just my.
Nah, and nobody expects anybody to. All of any of this, even in a work scene. We've struggled with how do you ask people. Well, it's not something that you ask. I mean, I've even confronted people that have been a bit combative about sexual orientation and all that, and I've kind of come back at them and said, okay, when did you come out as straight?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's no response. Sometimes, they cock their head to the side and they think about it for a second. Nobody really comes out as, quote, straight, right? So I've kind of used that in a couple of situations along the way of, this journey of 39 years so far. So.
Well, my thoughts with Jim, with my husband, who was not the first person in my life my term that I use is gay, but because we were involved in counseling in the P-Flag group, I spent time going, okay, now what does it feel like to be him? What do I feel like? I'm trying to identify, is that just a feeling? Is that something he's always felt? Do I feel anything? So you examine all of those things just kind of to help you understand who you're with and if you have any conflicts with it,
Mm-hmm. And I have been finding, like, as we get older, sometimes we feel like we don't need to be bound by labels. I identify as bisexual, and I didn't feel like I needed to come out about it. It's just who I am. And so I feel like as I get older and older, it's just kind of like I like who I like, and I don't need to put a label on it or announce it to everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like as we get older, we start not caring so much what other people think.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
A lot of freedom in that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, as I've gotten older, I definitely care a whole lot less about what other people think as well. You don't like it, you can hit the door pretty much. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's another term in here. What is a lady sitter? Because that's a new term to me, too.
So I'm working on trademark that. So a lady sitter is pretty much somebody who helps babysit an adult. So I run a business, and my mind is all over the place, and I also struggle with some bipolar diagnosis. And so I have, like, a personal assistant who takes care of me, like tells me to slow down, or maybe, like, helps me get places, or, it's probably kind of like a personal assistant, but a little different.
That's my granddaughter in my life.
And would that be your lady sitter?
I guess she would be.
Yeah.
My granddaughter takes care of me like I'm the child and she's the grandmother. It's just I have to keep telling her you're that's not a role. You don't have to have that role, But anyway, what you described kind of got me giggling because I recognized it in the way she hovers.
Yeah, like it's like babysitting, but I'm a lady.
Right. So I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to get a T-shirt that says, like, "Does my lady sitter know where I am?"
Well, Helen, that may be our next T-shirt idea. So
yes.
So another leader in our group here, we have a T-shirt. It's available for sale, by the way. It's not to necessarily plug anything, but it has a heart in the middle, and it says, "Children in cages have heartbeats too."
That's exactly what I'm wearing.
Yeah. So, so Melissa, a couple angles that's going from here in Georgia. Have you heard of the heartbeat bill?
No.
Yeah. So the heartbeat bill here in Georgia has been signed into law by the governor here in Georgia. And it basically says, is it around 8 weeks when a fetus is in the womb, typically starts, you can start detecting a heartbeat, that the state of Georgia wants to protect that fetus all the way through to term, and which now includes potentially legal implications if the mother goes and has an abortion. I believe there's also another implication that as soon as after that point, around 8 weeks, the family can take tax deductions. That fetus is now a living person, is another angle of this heartbeat bill as it's coined.
While she's pregnant?
Yes.
Oh, my. I didn't
Yes, I didn't realize there was a name to it, the heartbeat bill. Yeah. Wow.
The ACLU has challenged it because in Georgia, our state laws go into effect July 1st, and here we are, day 19 of this, going into effect. So the ACLU here waited, for everything to all the legalities and processes to go in place, but we'll see where it goes. There actually have been district attorneys here in Georgia that have said that they're not going to fight it, that if this comes up, they're just going to go into other cases and just not worry about this if it comes up. But there are this is really uncharted territory within the past, 10, 15, 20 years since, Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
And And then you have more extreme versions of this. Was it Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, where I don't think there are any abortions allowed for their version of their bill. So, that's where we are. And so the other part of the T-shirt, obviously, is what's going on at the southern border and all of the parents separated from their children. As I said earlier, our group is very progressive, as we like to say, but we lean pretty liberal. And so that's where it's been pretty popular with that T-shirt idea that, again, children in cages have heartbeats, too. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I have run into people who don't understand that and wanted to take me on as someone they should challenge, but I just namaste'd them and said, I just think it's wonderful you have your dedication and kind of leave me alone. This is my world. So.
Good for you.
Yep. I wouldn't have said that even 4 years ago, but by golly, I've changed.
Well, there's a certain dude in the White House, I think, that's changed that for a lot of us. So.
Yes, he has.
Yeah. Oh, there goes my dog.
What kind of dog you have?
He is a pug and a Brussels Griffin mix. He's a certified therapy dog, so he comes to work with me quite often.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yes. His name is Brutus. He's my canine soulmate.
And then, Helen, what kind of dogs do you have?
Sure. Pardon?
And then, Helen, what kind of dog do you have?
Oh, well, currently I have a Belgian Malinois and a Papillon Poodle blend. And what is Vincent? He's that little squawky thing. Like a Yorkie or something. It's my daughter's dog, and I can never remember what he is. Anyway, I've always, ever since she's gotten him, I wanted to drop kick him off the back deck, but she won't let me do it. So he's a sweet dog. He's like 12 or 13 years old now, so we've kind of gotten used to him. But we've had more dogs. We've been up to 5 at a time, but now the family is saying, no, 3's enough. So, but we also have 3 cats and a rabbit and a turtle. Okay, that's my family.
Wow.
When is the petting zoo open, Helen?
I don't know. I thought we should have moved into a further out where we had yard because we could have chickens. And actually, right now we're growing tadpoles in our hot tub because it's not working. It's kind of a crazy household. Well, because we're just avid readers. There's books and dog toys, and it's just comfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not about me.
No, we don't have a pup right now. Monty was my pup when I was in college, and he passed away a few years ago. But I travel a lot right now, so I told Mike, I said he's looking at corgis right now, so we'll see what happens. But I told him it's going to be his decision because he's home a lot more than I am right now. So,
yeah, and they'll be watch that dog take more to you than him.
Yes.
That does happen. I have one of our
still
dogs.
Okay on time here, Melissa?
Well, I'm sorry?
You still okay on time here, Melissa?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you had a few other questions here. So being, a lady there, you mentioned yesterday, I know as therapists you do a lot of, was it group therapy or you're coaching other therapists that are getting started. What does that week or day look like for you?
Well, I feel like I have 2 businesses. Actually, I probably really do. So I have the private practice where I see clients twice a week and do all the therapy stuff. And then I do the business side of things. The other 2 days of the week, just kind of making sure that the business is running well because there's always something going on. And then 1 day a week, I work on my online business, which is my coaching business, and I teach other therapists how to open up a private practice and make it successful. And that's been really fun because I love teaching people, and I started my practice 4 years ago, and it was a 6-figure business within 2 years. And so I want to teach other clinicians how they can do that as well.
Yeah, my day job is a software trainer. So I somehow always gravitate back to training of some sort. That was what I did right after college, and and I'm a master's. I've taught college along the way. So for whatever reason, I've always gravitated back towards that as well. But interesting on those fronts there.
And I just published a book to teach other people too. So if they can't afford coaching, buying the book is something that they can do. Do you have a book for your software coaching?
So we're a huge international software company. There are other teams that generate. I've learned to try to. I'm very ADD, and Helen, I'm curious to hear your opinion on that. Working with me more closely these past month or two. But
I live in a house of ADD.
But I feel like I'm very bad about jumping from thing to thing, and I'll sit down, and if it really takes me a lot of time to do something, I feel like I'm on to the next thing. So it feels like it would be a huge task for me to write something, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I had to hire a writing coach.
But it's funny you asked that, too. A good friend of mine, I've known him for years, ever since I moved up to Atlanta. He actually did write a book recently. He is a public school teacher here in the area, and he wrote a horror novel. And I did a little written interview with him this week and published that. But he is trying to see where that leads him. But I made it, and that's the other part about me, too. I can do well with audiobooks, or if it's something I'm interested in, but I made it through a couple of chapters, and he was very interested in where I set the book down. But it was interesting because the book had some references to the local area, and then it was set up in Kentucky, but there were still names and references like to streets in the area and stuff like that. So I caught up with him this week on that.
Oh, that's great.
And
I've done a lot of that kind of writing. I've got a book about Jim that I've never really finished, but then you go on to something else. That's why I have a craft room that's so crowded I can't get in there to craft. So... Oh, I know.
We don't have a dining room. That's my art studio.
No, mine. This house is too big for human beings. But anyway, I do have a room that I'm got all my stuff in, but I haven't been doing that. I've been just getting old. Anyway.
And then ultimately, I created one version. I think I gave it to Aggie just to get her opinion on it. But all of this work that we do for our political group is I don't like to pat myself on the back, but I feel that it's a bit groundbreaking. I don't know that I've ever, literally the only thing that has ever happened like this in Georgia was when Georgia flipped from Democratic to Republican. And that happened back when Reagan was in office, back in the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. Obviously Jimmy Carter was from Georgia. He is still a Democrat. But Georgia converted or switched, from blue to red. And we're seeing that, for all intents and purposes, Georgia is really back blue now. And that has not happened, since the early 80s, back when, Reagan was in office. And there's a story to be told here, I feel. Now, I guess other people have other opinions of, the billboards that we put up as a group. The Facebook posts that happen literally every 2 seconds or quicker. There's a story to be told. Literally what we're doing right now is also a story to be told and put in some sort of media of some format. So it's always something that's been in the back of my mind, and I've created that one. Basically, it was a coupon for one of those, picture books that you get from, what is it?
Vistaprint?
One of those, online printing companies. You just upload everything and they send it to you in the mail. But I feel like, there's all different types of media, that can be, generated and stories that can be told there. So.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just somewhere on that to-do list that's either in my head or some drawer somewhere.
Can I address your calendar? I saw people saying, "Oh, you need to have this fireman-looking people on your calendar that you're doing. I don't agree. I like what you're doing with your calendar. People are people, and we have to stop saying that all gay people are just muscular or absolutely butch or, all that. I like the fact that yours is just, here's some people, and they all have different kinds of lives, and they're just like anybody else in that sense. And I don't think it should look like a stereotypical gay guy staring at another, you know what I mean, or whatever. It doesn't have to be a man. It can be a woman. But so anyhow, I think what you're doing is good, and you shouldn't listen to anybody else, including me, but still.
Well, no, I appreciate the support, Helen. And Melissa, you're still okay on time? I feel like I'm taking up a lot of your time.
And I'm sorry.
No, I'm all right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so what we're discussing here was probably a little more timely as football season's about to start up. And I don't know up there in Rhode Island, is football season a big thing in the circles you're in?
Oh, my goodness. The Patriots, New England Patriots, like, that's what our house thrives on. Not me. It gives me a day to do crafts. But, yes, my husband and his mother have special things that they do, because if they don't do it, then Tom Brady's not going to win. Yeah, it's a big deal up here.
Okay, gotcha. Well, it's huge down here in the South, and even more so at times, depending, again, upon the circles you're in, college football. And if you have kids, depending on their ages, it could be even high school level football. The one calendar, to make it more timely, is we have from our Indivisible group, there is a Georgia Bulldog calendar that's just in a PDF form right now, just to see where the interest level goes. But as soon as that was published, I'm not sure, Helen, if you saw the comment, the gentleman said, well, you've just lost a supporter because I'm a Georgia Tech fan.
Well, you're talking to a Georgia fan. I am a Georgia Tech person. You can see this room I'm sitting in. It's Georgia Tech all over the place. But that wouldn't flaw me against the calendar. I just I have my
actually, I am too. It's just that as we're out and about in Georgia, everybody's UGA, and so that's why I started with that. But I told him, I said, no, patience, we'll get there, and it's very easy just to recreate that and do, a Tech version. But where this actually started out was the theme of gays against Trump. It was an image that I came across somewhere on the internet that I took, and then I actually found a dozen guys, mostly through Instagram, because Instagram's all about pictures. And I just messaged them, and I said, here's an idea. Would you mind if I use this picture on the calendar project? And so the web page is out there, but we're still trying to find the right niche. And I feel like it's going to be a bar, or maybe 2 or 3 bars that are willing to help sponsor and fund it, and turn it into probably a 2020 calendar, because unless anything changes, it looks like Trump is going to be running for re-election next year. And it would be, again, a political calendar of gays against Trump, and going with that. So, again, Helen, I appreciate the support, and we'll see where it goes. But, again, there have been some comments definitely made, even from some of our, liberal-leaning folks, saying that it's not appropriate, or it's not something, that we do. But it's not final. It's just, a lot of ideas that have been put out there, and we'll see where it goes.
I think it is something we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be the liberal left type people we are. So they have to face their discomfort, I guess.
Yeah. And then, Melissa, do you see this sometimes? I refer to some of, the sentiment there as kind of infighting, is what I sometimes refer to it there. But, however, there was an article, I can't put my hands on it right at the moment, but I remember seeing it scrolling through all the news that I consume in whatever format. It said that the Republicans of Trump have basically unified the liberals in the Democratic Party. Because the factions and all of the stuff, all the news stories and everything that we saw happen, leading up to, that guy in the White House and all that, it really has seen a lot of other people come out of the sometimes woodwork, and because, assuming, that Hillary was going to win, and of course that didn't happen, even though she won the popular vote. By the way, that there was a comment this week that I reposted a couple of times. It sure took a lot of money to lose the popular vote. but take that for what it's worth. But it's been interesting to see. I'll kind of call them factions, or in some cases, some infighting at times. I try not to feed into that. I have, I think, grown a lot of thicker skin over these past year or two. I've learned a lot over this past year or two of, what, presses certain people's or groups' buttons and where, you're going to do other. And another quote I'll put out there too, pleasing everyone is probably setting yourself up for failure.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that goes for everything in life almost.
Yeah. But I was curious there, Melissa, do any of these stories, do they ring true? Are there any similar experiences up there in Rhode Island that you've come across with what all you're up to up there?
So we're pretty liberal up here. I think that we are finding that we are banding together more. It's like we have one common enemy, so we're all going to get together and be stronger. And we have a large LGBTQ plus community here, and I think that we are all marching together. Like, this is something that's bringing us together, although it's not something good that's bringing us together, but we're united and pushing forward. But as you said, this election has brought people out of the woodwork. It's amazing. It reminds me of when you go to the beach and you put sand in one of those sifters and, like, all the big rocks come out. It's like we sifted people, and these people are coming out, and it's okay for them to be hateful. It's just unbelievable that there's people that do some of the stuff that they still do. But, it has brought us together, even though it's not a good time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the people either in our political group and some of my other friends and extended friends, number one, if there is some sort of afterlife and there is a hell and we're all going together, there's certainly a lot of people I know that I'm glad I'm going there with them and not some of these other people.
Yeah. Yep.
Number one. But there was another part of that I was going to go into as well. Oh, and also a lot of the older folks. I mean, I think I've said it several times. I'm 39. Helen, I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but I'll say you're a bit older than me.
74.
And own it. I mean, I love all of my older friends. I hang out with mostly older folks.
He almost put himself in a category thing. I have older friends.
Yeah. But I mean, I hope that there are, like-minded folks like this and whatever sort of, retirement home or what have you that I end up in when I get to be that age. I certainly, the last thing I want to do is, be in some nursing home alone that nobody really wants to come see me or anything. So, for definitely certain that.
I think that's a good thing he's working on.
Yeah.
And in our area, there does not seem to be a shortage of, say, retirement homes or nursing homes going up. It seems like they're if you go further, like north of where I live, it seems like there's at least one or two that are under construction at any given time.
Yes, but you better have a lot of money to get into them.
So, and a lot of our elderly go down south when it gets cold.
Yep. So, let's see. I think that made it through most of your questions. I guess, Melissa, is there anything else that you're looking to talk about or cover today?
No, I think we covered quite a bit today.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of different podcasts that you host. Two of them, is it?
Yes, I host Chit Chat with a Therapist, where I talk to other therapists or people who have information or products that would be beneficial to therapists. And then I have Pride Connections, where I interview members of the LGBTQ plus community who are changing the world.
Cool.
I got that written down. I'm just catching up with podcasts. That's all. whole new thing for me.
Once you get it, it's pretty cool.
I like it.
If you're ever looking for guests, be more than glad to talk about what we're doing down here in Georgia, and from there. Helen, do you have any other questions?
No. I need to know a little bit more about what you're trying to do, so I can answer that question on Facebook. But to me, you're probably doing a great job, no matter what it is you're trying to do. So.
The biggest thing with these types of things is just reaching out. I mean, and Melissa, what I'm about to say has no reflection on you whatsoever, but there are several topics that we talked about here that was new news to Melissa. And you can't always assume that, what we're working on that everybody knows about. I mean, the heartbeat bill, et cetera. I mean, all these different things, you cannot always assume that everybody just knows about these things. So, telling these stories and whatever medium or fashion that people consume information, that's why I'm doing what we're doing here. And, of course, like I said, we're recording this, if you're comfortable with it, recording it, and, we'll put it out on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on Twitter. It's not necessarily that it's a set cadence of these, because I'm not able to have literally a daily or weekly show per se, but it's as I have these connections or I see them and like-minded people, and we've done this in the past with some other folks, I definitely, like to sit down and do this when I can. So.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to think about, too, is that the younger generation, a lot of them don't have TV. They're just watching, Netflix and stuff like that. So the day-to-day stuff they don't get. Like my assistant didn't know what the weather was going to be this weekend. She's like, I don't have a TV. I don't know what's going on. So it's very interesting to hear that as well.
Yep.
My granddaughter's all about TV, Instagram, and Twitter, and all that stuff. She's very picky about what she'll watch, and she's very much into supporting see if I can say this right, LGBTQ. Pride stuff. Yes, I did that right. Anyway, so it's fascinating. Well, I've got two granddaughters, one that lives here and one that doesn't, and it's just fascinating to watch them and to stay up with what's going on,
Yeah.
And everything I've learned so far, if you have not captured the attention of someone within about 10 or 15 seconds, you need to let it go. So you have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. You have to find that right keyword, that right picture, that right video. There's an art and a science to both of it. So yeah. But on that topic again, Helen, because I know that you may not have known, are you still okay with the recording of this going out?
I am, if you are. I mean, I just sound like a rambling ninny, but, sure, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Just making sure, because there was just, we went a little bit personal in a couple of places, just making sure. But no, I'm perfectly fine. I think this was a great, little segment here. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I'm fine being who I am, and if other people don't like it, that's something they need to deal with. So.
Yeah, it's not quite Sunday, but I'll say amen. So.
I agree, yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll call it a close there unless you ladies have anything else here.
No. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And again, thanks, Melissa DaSilva from up in Rhode Island for joining us. And like I said, I will get this in a little bit more professional way and to a media that's shareable. And I would appreciate just getting it out to whoever's willing to listen to us. So.
Sounds great. And I'll be purchasing one of those T-shirts.
Oh, cool. We'll send you the link over. We appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.